Good morning, everyone. Mike McConville here, Stratford, Ontario, Canada. We're just setting up to slip the pyramid bridge off. So this is how I set up. I've got the guitar sort of suspended like that. I've got the heat lamp over top of the soundboard. And I've got that soundboard masked off with, actually it's an old ironing board cover to act as a heat shield, keeping the heat where it's needed directly on the bridge. Now for my Patreon subscribers and longtime YouTube subscribers, you'll remember that in this instance I kind of roll up a cloth, wet it slightly. It's like a cloth sausage. So it's a combination of heat and steam that will get that bridge off safely. So I've got my timer set up for 7 minutes. You never want to go more than 7 minutes. If you got to go 7 minutes twice, or even 7 minutes 3 times, you do it in increments of 7 minutes. So you've got that 250 watt heat lamp. Here, let me just bring you up here. There's our heat lamp above the bridge. So it is that combination, that wet cloth, which will help us to produce steam to infiltrate the foot of the bridge and get this off safely. So I've got this syringe of water just to keep that wet. Keep that, you don't want it sopping wet, but you want moisture in there. You want, like I said, a combination of moisture and heat. So this is the other part of the equation. I have this probe. This is very sharp. So when we're ready to slip this bridge off, this will be heated up by the buffer. So this way we've got a hot probe to be able to slip that off right on the glue line. To pull that cloth off again and let the heat get directly onto the ebony bridge. So we're about halfway across here right now. There's no chipping, no lumber. We're right on the glue line. I'm going to reheat the bridge this half very gently. This is our second time through, heating up now the treble side of the bridge. So far so good. It came off beautiful. Super clean on the bass side. Oh, gotta love it. This thing's just been given a new lease on life. Look at that. Not one speck of wood. Now we're going to clean this thing up super clean, reglue that, and we are going to fill in that bridge slot. The placement for this saddle isn't even close. It needs to be intonated. We're going to do that. That is wonderful. That came off so clean. Hallelujah. That old glue, it's just rolling off. It was probably lifting from the day the guy glued it on. So when everything's taken into account, you know, we're talking about a guitar that's 180 years old. For this soundboard to be in this condition after that much time, you got to wonder how many times the bridge did come off. That's the only real void is right there. And that hide glue will be able to mix that up to medium viscosity, and this thing will be 100% when we're done. So this is the dry run for this bridge reglue. In honor of the St. Louis Blues and Boston Stanley Cup Finals, we're reintroducing the hockey puck luthiery. So hockey puck sliced up as a pad, hockey puck sliced up as a pad on this side, another piece of hockey puck here, and these hockey pucks are stacked to sort of balance that clamp. So we're getting ready to glue this into place, and I'm delighted at how accurate this has come out. So these are the cleaned up mating surfaces, the foot of the bridge and the soundboard. And we're getting ready to glue this bridge back on, and it should be good for a long, long time to come. I've got a piece of vinyl underneath these bridge pin holes, so anything that gets through the holes to the inside of the guitar will land on that strip of vinyl. 99% preparation, and then it's 1% perspiration. Take a look and make sure that we got good contact all the way around. Now by the time I get my cleanup sticks ready to go, this will have gelled and I'll be able to scoop it right up. I know you've heard me go on and on about hide glue in lots of videos, but here's one of the reasons I like it so much. You get it while it gels like this, and it just scoops right up. These little scoop up sticks are nice because they're soft enough that they're not going to scratch anything. Get right in tight to the glue line. The other side here. Sorry I can't move the camera around. The task at hand has got all my attention. Next I've got my wet cloth. I can go along that joint like so. Clean up every trace of glue. Start with the wet cloth and our dry cloth. And this is a done deal. This could be the first time in 100 years that bridge has actually had intimate contact with the soundboard. Be very interesting to hear what this guitar sounds like after this. Okay, so we've let this sit overnight. Let's take it apart and have a close look. Okay, so today we remove the saddle. We're going to fill that slot in with solid ebony, then we're going to do the math and we'll recalculate that bridge slot for perfect intonation. So this is the finished cut. So what we're doing here is we're going to be gluing in an ebony insert and reslotting this to get perfect intonation on this guitar. Fill that in now with our insert. Nice press fit. I'm going to have enough left over there to use for another job. So we'll just scribe across there and kind of get it in a little closer. Okay, I'm happy with that. We've got a good press fit there. We'll glue this into place and then we'll be ready to reslot. I'm going to heat up that nut. We're going to take that off. Got that off pretty clean. Didn't take any wood with it. This is where the bridge slot should have been cut 180 years ago. Little titch of French polish on there. So we are doing a neck reset on this mid-1830s Bruno guitar. On the underside of the fingerboard, I'm making that undercut. I'm showing you this now because this is going to come into play later as we adjust and reset the neck angle to get that fingerboard extension to flex ever so slightly and lie down flat on the soundboard right up to the sound hole. So the neck came off nice and clean. This is really more like a violin neck joint than a guitar neck joint. There's no dovetail. This is just basically glued to the inside of that block. We're taking very little off. With the pyramid bridge, you don't want to set it back too far. So I'm just sort of bringing you in to show you we're going from 0 here. We take nothing off on this side and then gradually taper it down. It looks about maybe 20 thou or so we're taking off on this tip, and then we'll go to 0 on this end. Now you have to be very careful because you have to take equal amounts off both sides, otherwise you'll change the actual trajectory of the neck. You have to go very gently from here to 0 and make sure we're even on both sides. So here's the finished result. We started with a die grinder and just barely touched this end here where we needed to take most of the material off, and then we switched to the little sanding stick you just saw, and we brought this down until it just kissed the tape. Both sides, same thing all the way along. So we're going from 0. We didn't sand this at all here. We just worked our way up to the underside of the fingerboard. Most of the material came off this end, and we tapered to 0. The face of that heel has all been shaped and tapered. As you saw earlier in the video, there's a relief cut there. This is all going to make sense as we start to put this together. We will be putting a threaded insert in there, and I'll explain as we go why we're doing that. So what I have here is a solid maple support block. So I raise the body platform up until it brings the block into contact with the underside of that ebony fingerboard. I like to have that fingerboard intact. So this way the fingerboard is integrated with the neck. So I'm about to drive this fret in, and this is why I do this way. So the neck is obviously off the guitar. These frets were driven in first. The last 3 frets right at the neck junction and 2 back, I'll put those ones in after the neck has been reattached. The idea is the fingerboard extension, that's a 180-year-old guitar. You want to reduce the shock to a minimum. It's already seen enough abuse. So we're going to send this fret home. So I'll put 1 more fret in, and then those last 3 we'll put in after the neck is glued. I also take the time now to edge dress the frets so I don't have to contend with that after the neck is glued onto the body. A lot easier to get at this now than it is after the fingerboard is attached to the soundboard. Got a beautiful fit on that fingerboard extension. That fastener is holding the neck in place as the glue sets. And that hide glue is gelled now, so we can just scoop it up. It's a beautiful thing. One of many nice things about hide glue is it doesn't stick to lacquer when you're doing this type of work. It's a super bonus. Wrap the cloth around my stick, and that lets me get right in tight and get every trace of glue squeeze off, and then come in again with a dry cloth. I need to explain something here. Once again, I want to bring you in tight before I drive these last 3 frets, and I want to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay, a couple of things. So first of all, this is the tolerance. That's how long the fret is. That's how close it is to the finished length before I drive it home. The other thing I wanted to point out, these 2 frets here, I have this pair of blunted end cutters, so I've basically ground down the blade so it's just a flat surface on both sides. I put the fret in and I crush the bead. I'm kind of adjusting the fit here of the fret. So these 2 frets, I basically crush the bead to get a nice press fit. This fret, I did not crush the bead, and here's why. So we need to think about the change in geometry by what we just did. the neck was removed. It was tilted back. And this is why I only fretted up to here, because even before I put these frets in, if you remember, we had a threaded fastener to kind of hold the neck on, and I actually used two-sided tape to kind of hold that fingerboard extension down while I take out that sort of hump at the neck to body junction. Once again, neck's tilted back, so now right where it meets the body, the fingerboard drops off, and that leaves a high spot there. So that high spot, you've seen in previous videos, I used that scrub block, kind of scrubbed it down, and then go to a longer block, and this basically corrects that change in the trajectory of the neck and makes it straight along the string path from end to end. That's one reason we put that fastener in, is because it allowed us to put the neck on and fingerboard on temporarily with the two-sided tape up here and that fastener inside, and that gave us the opportunity to correct that neck to body junction. The second reason we've got the fastener on is when we glue this. Now this was not a dovetail, like you saw, it was not a dovetail. So when we actually wet it with the hide glue, that fastener pulled that face in tight while the glue set. They're the two main reasons we put that fastener on. I'm leaving it in, and this is a third reason. The reason I'm leaving that fastener in is because 180 years from now, if the neck ever needed to come off again, someone's going to see there's a fastener in there, and they could literally pull that fastener out, stick a needle in there with a steam, and steam this neck off like that. Whenever I'm doing this type of work, I'm always thinking of the next guy, whether it's 50 years or 100 years or 20 years down the road, to make his job as easy as possible. So that's kind of the wrap up on this one. So we're ready to tap those frets in, but I want to show you how I support the body at the neck junction when I tap these frets in. In between the rails of the TechDecks body platform, I have a 25-pound bag of lead buckshot. That supports the guitar at that neck to body junction and acts as a shock absorber as I drive in those last 3 frets. So the last little bit of correction we have is going to be from where we started to reshape the fingerboard to get rid of that high spot at the neck to body junction. So it's this area right here that we need to level. Once that's leveled, then we'll put a straight edge up and we'll let you see just how close we got with this. So I'm coming back a little bit further up the neck and then making my way to that neck to body junction. The file moves along the string path, don't turn it, moving obliquely over the crown like this. And then we're going to put a straight edge on in a second, and we'll check this, how much fall off we've got at the top end, and just the overall lay of the neck along the string path. So here's a long straight edge, we'll do that first. So when I lay that on there, I still got a little bit of a high spot. I'm going to come back a little bit further up the neck. We're blending the last little bit of that neck. These frets are a 45 thou crown, which are huge compared to what was in there. There, put our straight edge again. Ooh, now we're really close. So just on this side, got a high spot right here. So we're going to take that down just a little bit more on the base side. File is not moving straight. I'm always going across the crown. So I'm starting on the outside edge and then moving slightly towards the center. And then cross hatching, coming back the other way and going the opposite direction. Blending that trajectory in so that we end up with the perfect height at the saddle of the bridge. So when I push that straight edge up, it just breezes across the wood of the bridge. That is the perfect neck to body angle. Just got the final run here with this re-crowning after leveling. do the edge dress on those last 3 frets that we put in, and like I've mentioned in other videos, see that? We're done. That's how easy that edge dress was. So I don't like to leave a lot of fret protruding past the fingerboard, because what ends up happening oftentimes when you do your edge dress, you end up jarring those frets and loosening the outside edges, which is the most likely place for it to loosen up. Now I can go full length. We're just about there. So these are those blocks that I sent out to you guys that ordered your fretting package. This is 400 grit. So the 400 grit is used to take out the tooling marks of the file, simply scrubbing that crown back to center. I'm also kind of going along the edge. This is cloth back paper, by the way, this 400 grit. A lot tougher than the paper stuff. The paper stuff will just disintegrate when you start doing edge dressing like this. I get this in like a 10-foot roll from my local supplier. It's cloth back paper. And so I'm going to bring you in a second and let you have a look at what we got. But before I do, we'll put that straight edge up again and sort of check this again. So there's our straight edge. Oh, that's much better. Oh, and that is like perfect case scenario. It just kisses that bridge. Last 5 frets, it gradually drops off. So that means that over time, and I mean a lot of time, over another 100 years, as that flexes up, this fall off will end up being in line with the trajectory of the string path. Now, obviously this is over a long, long period of time, long after we're all gone. Before I go to the buffer, I've got this 600 grit now, and that should take out most of the traces now of the tooling marks of the files we're using. So before I buff that, I'm just going over with the 600 grit. Oh man, that is the absolute best case scenario. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, we haven't even buffed yet. I've marked all the values on the crown of that radius bone saddle. Now I've got my full length straight edge. I'm kind of going to that low E string and then checking from the first fret right up to the bridge. Oh man, this is it. This thing has been saved. Well, here is the reveal on this guitar. That's how much saddle we got. Lots. Look at the action on this thing now. It plays silky smooth. There's our compensated nut. Wait till you hear this thing. Lots of work to get this thing back. All new frets, neck reset, bridge reglued, reslotted for the saddle for proper intonation. It's set up for a 10 to 46 string, phosphor bronze. The original frets. Look at, there's virtually no crown left. It was like they were painted on there. Yeah, this is good for the next 100 years. I wanted to bring everybody in on this one because look at the angle that those bridge pins go in. What that means is that the ball end of the string is directly underneath the saddle. So the strings are essentially clamping the bridge to the top. I'll be using that design on the next parlor guitar. I want to give all my subscribers a chance to hear this. So we've got our compensated nut. We have reslotted the bridge for perfect intonation after re-gluing it. You saw the mess that bridge was when I came in. And of course, all new frets. Anyway, listen to the voice of this. So this is pre-X-brace. And the sustain. this is like fingerstyle paradise. These are a 10 to 47 string. And look at the back, look at the rosewood back. There isn't a single crack on the back. The top, of course, has all kinds of cracks. There is a stamp on the end of the headstock, F3405, so I don't know if that's May 1834, but it's definitely 30s. It'll be around for a long, long time. Wow. This is definitely the right set of strings for this guitar. The guitar is relaxed, it's breathing, big open sound. I think Mike was right on the money with this gauge that he's chosen. Yeah, Mike is a long-time customer, collector. The steel string guitars were kind of a new animal back then in the 1850s. As you saw, we reslotted that bridge because this guitar would never play in tune with steel strings. So we filled it in, did the math, moved that bridge to the right location, and then intonated the saddle and the bridge all the way across, and of course intonated the nut as well. So any chord, anywhere on this guitar, perfectly in tune. thing that's amazing is these are the original machine heads, and they work beautifully. I did lubricate them, snug down the gears a little bit, but they are smooth as silk to turn. This instrument is back up and running, probably for the first time, and who knows, could be a century. There's a look at the rosette. There's our neck to body joint, and this is the rosewood back. Now there's a few cracks in the side, quite a few actually, that have been repaired. I did repair a couple myself. And you can see the actual circular saw marks from when they cut these sides. They're scored into the inside of the sides. So I did put a ultra thin mahogany patch veneer with hide glue, of course. One of the atrocities was the guy was using a capo, and there's like screw marks in the back of the neck. It's been rescued, that's the most important thing. So this is not Bruno and son, this is Bruno. This is Charles Bruno. So this is the father, the guy that was briefly a partner with C.F. Martin. So if anybody out there has more information on this guitar, I'd be glad to pass it on to my subscribers. Cheers.